All right, what's up, guys? Today we're going to be looking at a video of James Marshall, who's one of the most popular pickup coaches, pickup artists that's still around, that's still active, and whose channel is actually growing quite a lot. He has about 250,000 subscribers. Now, I respect to some degree anyone who posts infield of themselves approaching women, who actually shows themselves walking the walk. I have a lot less respect for any of the dating and red pill coaches who have no receipts, no infield, no proof. Most of them, in case you didn't know, are complete bullshit. There's a reason they don't show proof. It's because they don't have proof. So someone like James Marshall does have infield footage on his channel. He does show himself approaching women, getting numbers, those kinds of things. However, there are still a lot of guys who post infield but are absolute beginners that have no game, no riz, no skills at all. That is actually very, very common. And so in this video, we're going to take a look at James Marshall's infield and basically evaluate how good his game is, right? How on point is he? Is he one of the many charlatans who's just a really, really good marketer, knows how to build a cult following, knows how to sell? Or is he one of the real ones? One of the guys who actually has a lot to offer. So with that said, let's take a look at the footage.
Hi, how are you? She can talk it in English. Yes, I am here picking her up. Exactly. Yeah. Because you were late, she had to deal with me.
Okay, it's your fault.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
You can thank her later. All right, COVID pickup diaries. What date are we? September 8th, 2020. The end of the world is nigh, so we may as well go and make some people feel a bit better or weirder. Let's go talk to chicks. This looks very serious. Good book? It's good? Hi dear, how are you? You look very dainty. You guys are nicely matching, looking slick. Hi there, how you doing?
So there, he's just warming up, talking to everyone. It does look, the things he's saying or doing are slightly uncalibrated, but, you know, he's filming himself. And if you haven't recorded infield, it does add a good amount of pressure, right? It does make it more nerve-wracking than approaching normally would be. So I can give some leeway with that. And I think it's cool he's willing to show that. And you know what? Even if it is a little awkward, even if you do it in not the best way, getting out of your head by talking to everyone, by just saying passing comments, it works, right? Does it feel weird to do if you're not used to doing it? Yes. But it works. It can get you into state. It can get you into a social flow. It can get you out of your head. And it can really help make doing genuine approaches where you get real results much easier after you've done a bit of that, especially if you're not feeling loose, right? If you're feeling tight, you're feeling approach anxiety, you're feeling resistance, then saying things, even if, you know, it's like high-fiving someone, might feel weird to do that. But doing those kinds of things until you no longer have hesitancy, until you're able to just approach without any resistance, can actually be a very useful strategy.
What are you doing today? Nothing. Don't be suspicious. I'm an Australian. We're very friendly people.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you're very cute.
thank you.
And so I want to see if you're also interesting.
Interesting what?
Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Not interested. I don't know
Yeah.
what interesting. Are you doing that because of me?
No.
I had a test
No.
today and 2 days
Really?
ago. I am definitely healthier than you in that respect. It's been proven.
No, I didn't do that because of you.
Yeah. It's not very fun. They stick this thing up your nose and twist it.
Yeah, I heard about
It's not very fun. Yeah. What's your name?
it. Sorry?
Name?
Funny.
Funny. I'm
Yeah.
James.
Nice to meet you. Oh.
No. I'm not paranoid. In Australia right now, they've locked the whole fucking country. You can't leave. There's 8 p.m. curfews. If you go out after 8 p.m., the police arrest you.
Because of the virus?
Yeah, but they have, like, here we have something like 500 cases a day. In Australia, they have 50, but they're just super paranoid. Very paranoid. So I'm locked out. I'm a
What are
refugee.
you going to do?
I'm just going to be a weird refugee.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's fun actually. Yeah. Are you coming or going?
I'm waiting for one of my friends.
Mm-hmm. Any plans?
We are going to have a piercing. And then, yeah.
Nose, nipple, clit. What are you piercing
Nose.
today? Just the nose?
Yeah, just nose.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot to say. His vocal tonality is great. It's very strong. He's not necessarily the most outgoing, charismatic in the like Russell Brand kind of way, but he's very grounded, very masculine. He is not supplicating to the girl in any way, right? He's not seeking her approval in any way. So overall, vocal tonality is really good. His body language, he seems comfortable, he seems relaxed. He's the one, she's reacting to him more than he's reacting to her, right? She's the one who's more excitable and basically in his frame, if you will. So on a nonverbal level, everything's good. His opener, basic, direct opener. He did add a little bit of push pull or intrigue or whatever you might want to call it by saying he wanted to see if she was interesting, right? By adding a little bit of I'm not already fully sold, which I would say the way he did it wasn't too cringe and too forceful. I'd say that's also pretty good. So those two things are great. The conversation, he's talking about COVID. Obviously, this video was filmed while that was still a big deal. I wouldn't do that, right? Never talk about something so negative right away if you can avoid it. At least don't go too much into it. And then the last point, though, is he said, what are you getting tattooed or what are you getting pierced? Nose, ear, or clit? That's a little much so soon in the conversation. I mean, he's willing to, make it more sexual. I guess that's good that he's not hesitant and not like repressed, but that's a wild swing straight from like 5 to a 10, right? That's pretty aggressive. So didn't love that. I think that was unnecessary. That was uncalibrated. Everything else about it is really good.
Wow. I'm going to start somewhere. Are you into pain?
Sorry?
Do you like pain?
No.
No. You don't like needles?
Okay, so he's kind of free associating to make it about BDSM, is what it sounds like. Asking if she likes pain. That sentence on its own is awful. The context is that she's getting pierced. And so his brain is moving it in a direction that leads towards something sexual, something that could lead towards BDSM. So it could be good depending on what he does with it, but it could also be very cringe and very awkward. It just depends where he takes it.
Yeah.
But I do want to add, personally, I wouldn't have continued down that line since she gave him nothing when he said the whole clit thing, right? She gave him nothing with that, wasn't like jumping on the opportunity at all. And so I wouldn't keep doubling down on making such obviously sexual comments.
Who likes pain?
Masochists.
Really?
Oh, they love it. They pay for it, actually. I've got a friend who's a professional dominant, like a dominatrix,
Yeah.
but for a man is called a dominant. And so his job is that women pay him to do unspeakable things. And the story he tells me, holy fuck, people are into some weird shit. Like getting hung by hooks and all sorts of nasty shit. So yeah,
so that transition was actually pretty solid, right? He took the conversation from kind of generic day-to-day whatever, and now he's making it about something that's, pretty out there, that's also pretty interesting, and that is sexual. And he did that through a chain of associations, and he did that pretty smoothly.
people who like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But most people like being spanked. That's for sure. Yeah. I once, because how open-minded are you? Where do you want this conversation to go? You want to keep it on the weather?
No.
Just stay on the weather, or you want to go somewhere?
No, tell me.
That was good calibration because he knows that he's taking this conversation in a pretty extreme direction pretty quickly. And now he's getting her permission without sounding like beta or sounding like low status or anything like that. He's getting her permission to do so, which makes it smoother and less jarring.
All right. So
It's okay.
I'm definitely like a dominant in bed, but I wanted him to, like, basically I said, all right, show me what this is like, all right? Because I was like, if I'm going to do this to people, I should understand it. And so he got a cane, you know what this is? Yeah. And he's like, and he's Australian, so he's like, all right, fucking lie down, pull your pants down, like a doctor. He's like, all right, okay, here we go. I'm like, okay. And then he goes, all right, you got to breathe in 3 times and you need to eat the pain. And I'm like, okay. And so he goes, crack, with this thing on my ass. And it was these 3 phases. So the first one is this like sting where it's like a whip, right? So it really stings. And then you're like, okay, I can deal with that. And the second phase was like a sheet of fire burning.
Yeah, honestly, I think right now this is too much, because he's talking about how he's having another guy whip his ass to. It's weird, right? It's a little too much. It's kind of out there to learn BDSM or whatever to find out if he's a dominant. I don't know exactly what it is. It's a little much and it's pretty out there and it's a bit uncalibrated. On the other hand, it certainly makes him stand out and he does seem grounded and unreactive and he's totally comfortable talking about these things, which is actually very good. But, you know, he's taking it to like a 12 out of 10 when you could just take it to an 8 out of 10 instead of going that far to that extreme, since he hasn't really screened if she's into BDSM stuff, right? If she is, it's great. But when he talked about the everyone likes being spanked, she didn't really like leap on that super excited or like confirm that she's into BDSM in any way. So to really go that far into a topic that is so taboo, I just think he's pushing it a little farther than I would. Certainly haven't experienced the scenario that he's talking about going through.
From the inside out, like extremely bizarre. And then the endorphins kicked in, and then it felt like I was an MDMA. Like yeah, and I was like, whoa, that was a journey. Like 10 seconds took me through all of human experience. I know, very weird, but now I know. Now you have to know that. Yeah, well you can't forget it now. Yeah. Anyway, that was I just told you the vanilla stuff. So, yeah. You want to hang out sometime?
Sorry?
Do you wanna hang out?
I don't know about that transition. Oh, that was just funny to me. Like, all right, so yeah, I had the endorphin rush from being spanked with the whatever, I don't know what the tool was from a guy. Want to hang out sometime? That was pretty funny.
Sometime.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know, not surprised, right? Like I'm not surprised by her hesitance. So his nonverbal game is really, really good. His nonverbals, which is more important generally than verbal game, but with verbal game, if you go to the extremes, being extremely boring or being extremely over the top, like James is, it will cause you to lose girls. Now, maybe he would think, maybe his argument is, well, I want women who are open to that, who are, you know, that sexual right off the bat, that are comfortable with that. But you're really cutting off a lot of options of women who are shy when they first meet someone. And then just talking about all this aggressive stuff, it's overwhelming. It's kind of hard to relate to. It's a lot of pressure. And then to go and try to escalate to, hey, can I get your number? You need to experience that too. It's a little uncalibrated. Quite uncalibrated.
I know.
What do you want to do?
What do I want to do?
Plan?
You mean with you?
Yeah.
See if we like each other, if we can go for a walk, have an adventure, make out, who knows?
Corona time.
Oh, okay, well, oh, that's bullshit. People are, I can see it in everyone's, haven't you seen it? You're looking in everyone's eyes like, fucking give me meat, give me meat. I can tell. Especially with the mask, because it's everyone's just like, yeah. Tell you what, I'll get you something and then we'll go for a walk sometime. You're fun though, I can tell.
Sorry?
You're fun, I can tell. Like you have a personality. How do you communicate? WhatsApp, Viber, Instagram.
So the fact that she asked what he wants to do with her, very good sign. The previous reaction was not a good sign. So it's kind of, you know, there's like a 50-50 chance. This isn't the worst interaction. It's not the worst number. And if she's open to, the kind of crazy stuff he's talking about, there's definitely a shot that she's down to meet up and down to go for that. And the other good thing about what he's doing is, any woman who's like super conservative and super shy, she wouldn't want to see him again, right? He's screening them out. Now, I'd also say he's screening out a lot of women who are just not that comfortable with strangers, right? Or just not like, it's a lot to put on a total stranger what he's already talked about. So I think he's screening out more than he needs to, but he is polarizing. He is grounded. He's free and comfortable with his sexuality. That's for sure. So those are all good things, but it's also uncalibrated in a way that's going to make a good percentage of women, if they had that conversation, it's like too much. It's a little too much.
Smoke signals.
Anything.
What's the most likely?
I know. Instagram maybe.
Well, then you have to see my Instagram, and then you might not like me. All right, you add me.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? She can talk it in English. Yes, I am here picking her up. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you were late, she had to deal with me.
Okay. It's your fault.
It's your fault.
Yeah.
You can thank her later. Oh yeah, I wrote my name. That's right.
It's an ass. Your mom.
What if maybe I understand Hungarian? Then you're fucked. No. All right, that and then. Oh. Okay.
All right, I got to see why she said ew. Let me see that again, because that's not always a good sign.
What if maybe I understand Hungarian? Then you're fucked. No. All right, that and then. Oh. Okay. The weather. Oh yeah. Are you getting your nose too? No, you already have your nose.
Yes.
Oh, you're just here for moral support.
Yeah.
I getcha. All right, that's yours.
All right.
Which way are you going so we don't awkwardly walk the same direction? I'm going to go this way.
All right.
See you soon. Bye. Have fun. That was pretty good. Sometimes I'm really good at this. Why that was good was I got irreverent with her. So when we talked about the piercing and she said, who likes pain? These are these little crossroad points where I'm listening. It doesn't happen all the time, but I'm listening to see if something within the conversation allows for something cheeky. Also, she was cheeky, right? Because she had good eye contact. She was smiling a little bit, and it got me in a vibe where I was bouncing that back, and it was a cheeky thing.
Whatever. Let's just get to the next.
How do you know I even wanted to date you? Oh, well, yes, you're
approach.
right. And no one likes pain, and the human condition is to avoid pain. I could have talked about that, or I could have said, oh, well, different people have different pain thresholds, and I could have done all sorts of boring things. Instead, I went to masochist, she laughs, and then we get into the BDSM discussion. Where do you want this conversation to go? You want to keep it on the weather?
No.
Just stay on the weather, or you want to go somewhere?
No. Tell me.
All right.
Everything.
And then I, for some reason, tell her about the time when my Dom friend spanked me with a cane and went into excruciating detail, and it all worked and it was all good. So I dare you to write those lines down and try and say them to them, girl. It's not going to be good. So what's the answer? Come to the workshop and learn how to do this. It's subtle. All right, that was fun. I like her. Hi there. How you doing?
Hi.
Is he friendly?
Yeah.
Is he a support?
she.
A she? Hello, Peppy. Hello, Peppy. What's your name?
I have a boyfriend.
It's I have a boyfriend. She's like,
Sorry.
well, actually, how do you know I even wanted to date you?
I don't know what are your intentions.
Well, my intentions first is to see what you like, because I have standards. You are pretty, but there's more. I require much more than that out of a lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And you're just like, I have a boyfriend, so what's the point of this? What's the point is that you're a human, I'm a human, and we get to have this human moment. So just give me a fist bump. I'm James.
No, I'm just doing it from a distance. Sorry.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
I appreciate that he's showing rejections. A lot of guys don't do that, and they kind of create this false image that, when you're really good at pickup, you never get rejected. You have a 100% success rate, and that's ridiculous. That's not true. I know there's one coach, Adam Lyons, who says he has a 100% success rate. Doubt it. I'll happily challenge him to film live infield and have him do like 50 approaches and see if he gets a 100% success rate, because there's just no such thing. However, that approach, the initial vibe, the way he opened was solid. The way he dealt with her saying she had a boyfriend, it was also pretty good, right? He seemed a little there was a little tension, right? A little bit of friction, but it wasn't too much. He wasn't like getting super butthurt or super aggressive. He took it on the chin and just moved onto the next one, which is basically what you want to do.
So,
I mean, if his minimum coaching price is 10K, that's pretty wild. But, you know, he is definitely a high-level expert at marketing for sure.
going out to approach people, there's two ways you can do that. You can go, all right, I'm going to work. And so, all right, I'm going to walk around. I'm in my space. And I'm going to go, and then I'm going to practice the pickup. Hey, what's up? Yeah. Or you can treat the world like it is your living room, like it's your party. Hungarians are grumpy fucks. No offense to my Hungarian fans, you know that. They're not particularly social people to strangers, but when you blast them, hey gentlemen, how are you? Looking good. When you blast them with a good energy, hello lady, excellent, and have this sense that I'm just reaching out, and I don't want anything. So far I don't want anything. I'm just like spreading good vibes, nice smile, how you doing? I have the attitude like, I am a king, and I'm riding through my realm, and I'm flicking coppers and pennies and farthings and other types of ye olde currency out to my subjects, and I'm like, yes you go, and they're like, oh thank you governor, oh thank you squire, or they're like, oh fuck that, I don't want that. I'm like, oh well, you don't want it, well that's all right because I'm rich, and I shall just spread it far. People feel as make my life better. Purely self.
Okay, where is the next approach? All right, there we go.
Field, so I've got to prepare myself and get all my mad lines together. Then it'll get all awkward and weird. So now I feel kind of warmed up, and now I'm gonna go hunting. No, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Hi, how are you? Do you mind if I walk with you for 1 minute? I can see you're a little bit shy, but I'm not a dangerous person. I'm not selling anything. I just think you look adorable.
Thanks.
Yeah. What's your name?
So I would take out the I'm not a dangerous person. That just gives her the image of a dangerous person. It's like saying don't think of a purple elephant. She wasn't thinking about it, but now she is. The rest is fine, right? Saying I'm not selling anything, because women do often assume that you're selling them something when you approach on the street, because that's what other people are doing, right? They're selling them something, trying to get them to join a cult or whatever. So it was solid calibration, and overall, the initial approach is good.
Dory. My name is James. We're actually matching today, did you notice?
Oh, yeah.
We could be in a Benetton ad. Yeah. Do you want to stop for just 2 minutes and I'll let you go?
Okay, this is also good because she's walking by herself. She doesn't look like she's in a huge rush, and it's okay to walk with initially. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes it's the best choice, especially if they are in a rush or it's a group or whatever. But whenever possible, you do want to try to stop them and make it more of a real interaction, right? To make it a more solid interaction by stopping them, getting them to have stopping them a couple minutes in, if not a little sooner.
All right.
You're not in a big rush, right?
No.
Neat. You know, everyone has to go somewhere, but you're not going anywhere particular. Yeah. And so what's your story?
I'm an art historian.
An art historian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I work over there in a gallery, and now I'm heading to buy some wine for the evening's event.
What evening's event?
It's gonna be a finissage event for.
What, sorry?
It's a finissage. It's like
I don't know what that is.
the end of an exhibition.
Oh, okay. So not an opening, a closing,
Yes.
a closing party of some sort.
Yes, it's just some fancy French word for it.
Right. A finissage.
Yes.
Okay. Now, thank you. Now I have a fancy
Great.
word to use if anyone asks me. I'll say, oh, is that the finissage? And they're like, is there a fancy French word for the opening?
It's a vernissage.
So one is finissage and one is finissage.
Vernissage.
Vernissage. What's going to happen is I'm going to say it wrong, and then they're going to think I'm way more of a dork. That's the dream of every art historian, is to work in a gallery.
No, actually, I want to work in a museum, but
Oh,
now
that's-
I'm just working in a gallery because, this is what I got this job.
But I mean, you're still in your field,
Yes,
Right.
yes. Yeah,
which is
so
cool.
it's
Because I mean, and I would imagine a lot of artists and art historians, it's like not that easy to get positions, right? Did you did you get your position because of your excellent skills, or also because
I
of your
really hope
wonderful
so.
charms?
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably both. I mean, in my experience, the people that succeed in life are the ones that are both good at the thing and also good with people.
Yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
that's great.
Okay, so this is a little bit on the boring side, but that's not necessarily a bad thing on itself. That's one of the unfortunate problems with YouTube and infield, is that the one that is going to go the most viral is going to be the most extreme, the most intense. Like that earlier interaction makes a lot more sense at the beginning of the video because it's more engaging and draws your attention more. But the boring interaction is oftentimes better, as long as it's not too boring, right? As long as it's not over the threshold of so boring that she doesn't want to talk to you, she's not listening, she's not engaging. So this is solid. She's laughing. He's not saying anything like super clever, super funny, but she's reacting to him. She's being feminine. She's being somewhat flirtatious, not like over the top, but her body language, her laughing, etc., is all, going in the right direction.
And what else?
Friends?
Like, so do you have some like contrasting skills or contrasting experiences, or are you really all about the arts?
No, actually, I like flowers too. Yeah, I'm doing some DIY.
So she's in self-qualification mode, which is a good sign. It means basically she wants you to like her. She wants your approval. There's some part of her that's like, I don't know if this guy likes me, right? I want this guy to like me. I want his approval. So the way she's reacting, because his nonverbal communication is really good, is exactly what you want to be going for, right? And you don't have to say crazy lines like in that first approach. And in fact, oftentimes you don't want to say those crazy lines. They can be too much. However, if you get the nonverbals right, your intent is there, then you will get reactions like this, even if you're not doing anything that's like super crazy, super witty, that feels like James Bond or Russell Brand. That isn't all necessary. Yeah, I would agree. She is a little boring, but it is what it is.
Projects with dried flowers.
So you mean you press them?
Yeah, I collect them and
Uh-huh.
I make some like pictures and these things.
Like in a frame or something?
Yes, or these things which you put in your door, like I don't know, this
A wind
around
chime?
the-
Like a dream catcher? Is it
Yes,
like a North
but-
American Indian thing, or
No, it's like just
stained glass? Stained glass.
I don't know.
Like in a church. The glass that's...
No,
Oh.
it's just I don't know, just it's on your door.
Okay. I know what you mean. Okay. When you come to the door, there's like at Christmas when someone would put a...
So I would say the conversation has gone to this dead end topic a little bit more than necessary. I mean, it's something she's interested in, but if you're going to talk about it, you want to make it a little emotional, a little more personal, a little more just not so logical. So it's gone. I mean, viewers are leaving as they hear this long part. So it's not ideal here. It's a little more than necessary, but she's still investing. She still seems to like him. So I wouldn't say it's that bad, but I wouldn't go on a subject that's so inert for so long. Or I would try to add the topic is trash. Yeah, I would try to add a little more flair to it.
A thing like this. Okay. That sounds lovely.
It's kind of funny. The first interaction was like over the top extreme sexual, and now this one is over the top like basic and logical. It's kind of funny how it's working out.
Flowers and this DIY stuff.
That's good.
But keep in mind, she's smiling and she's laughing. Even though the conversation is boring, she's smiling and she is laughing and she's being receptive. So there is a lesson here. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be good enough. And your threshold of what you think good enough is, it's usually not as high as you put it in your mind, as the pedestal you put it on in your mind. It's actually a lot easier, right? Some girls are just going to like you for physical reasons. Maybe it's because they just broke up with someone, they're ovulating. Maybe it's because whatever. Maybe it's because they just like your smile, they like your personality. Maybe it's because of your nonverbal communication or because whatever. And some of them are going to go well. and you just have to not ruin a lot of them, right? So even though this is a little boring, it's a little generic, it's not the best content, right, in terms of YouTube, there's still a very good chance that he ends up hooking up with her or even dating her if he wants to, based on this interaction, despite it being imperfect. I would agree. Someone said he needs to lead. Yes, he should have led by now for sure, right? Taking her on an instant date. She said she has to do something. So either take her on an instant date, get the wine with her or something like that, or just get her number.
Like, I'm glad you have a skill, an interest that's actually tactile and real.
0% true. This is completely untrue. I have seen so many clients where a girl initially clearly is into him, and this has happened to me, especially in the past. A girl's clearly into the client, and then she loses attraction because it just fizzles out. He doesn't lead it. He doesn't. He gets reactive. He gets needy. Whatever it is. Or what was the other one? There was some other reason. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But that is very common, that a girl is clearly attracted, but the guy still doesn't make something happen. Or he self-sabotages. That was the other one, right? He just doesn't invite her back to his place. He doesn't go for the number. He doesn't make a move in any way. Both of those happen. Accent. Yeah, accent's always good. If you have an accent that is exotic, certainly a plus. But most guys who've gotten laid throughout most of time did not rely on an accent, and it's just one of a million factors.
So many people today are just only on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a farm in Portugal, and I started to grow wildflowers there. So that's, and vegetables and fruits, and like, because I've always worked with my mind, always worked with people and with my mind, so I'm really...
So this part's a lot better because it's a DHV story. He owns a farm, and he's not putting it in the conversation in a way that sounds forced. It's very natural because it's on topic. And he's also talking about how he has flowers, which that's the best thing she could come up with, when talking about what she's interested in. And so he's relating and building a connection on that. So this part's a lot better.
Getting into being much more in nature these days. Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah. I have this old man who works for me, and whenever I arrive from the city, I'm always moving at like city pace. And
another good example of a DHV, right? He has this old man who works for him. Like, it's something you have to be careful with, because if it's not organic to the conversation, it comes across as cringe. When it is organic to the conversation, it makes you look cool, right? It's just easy to do wrong, but definitely useful if you do it right.
He's worked there for 30 years, and he moves like very slowly. And then he goes, James, and he takes me for a long walk through the forest, and then he comes and he'll show me like a mushroom. And he's just like, and I go, yes. He really gets into the zone of like, be here with that mushroom, or be here with this olive tree. It's very good for the soul.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah. Have you got a boyfriend?
Yeah, it's actually...
I could tell you did.
What?
I could tell you did.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, that may be true because you do get a sixth sense for when women have a boyfriend, but then I don't know why you had such a long conversation, especially one that wasn't that interesting, right? It wasn't like super engaging. So that kind of seems like a bit of a waste of time. If he had that feeling, then he should have gone for it earlier or mentioned that earlier, as opposed to after such a long interaction.
It's kind of a fresh thing because I was single for 4 years, and now it's just happened all of a sudden.
That's a good break. Like, you needed that break for yourself, or did you choose that, or it just sort of happened like that?
Not really, it's just happened. And I don't mind it, so it was good, but now I'm just fine. So
Just fine?
relationship-
What do you mean
no,
just fine?
I'm really happy. I mean, I don't mind if I'm not alone anymore.
Yeah.
So it's good not to be so alone anymore.
Yeah. Humans need touch and love and intimacy. We do. Yeah. Well, I'm very happy for you then. Yeah, it was
Thanks.
really nice to meet you, Dory.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
And have a nice life.
I will. See you.
That's interesting. She sounded like she was saying that in a nice way, right? Have a nice life. But maybe it's because English wasn't her first language, but that's usually something you say when you're trying to be a real dick, right? Have a nice life, asshole. That's usually what that means. So that was kind of funny. basically that interaction, if he had the sense that she had a boyfriend, which I believe is probably true, then I don't know why he didn't bring that up 5 minutes earlier, right? I guess in some degree you're getting some social momentum, but I don't think he really needs that at his level of experience. And I think it's the conversation, if it's super interesting and you just get along, on a social level, then I would understand why I would do it. But it wasn't a very interesting conversation. It was pretty bland compared to the other one. So that was just a little bit of a waste of time. So what I would say about James Marshall is verbally, his game is kind of mid. It's kind of average. It's not amazing. I mean, it's above average. It's better than the average guy on the street for sure. But compared to other coaches, other pickup artists or whatever, his verbal game is not amazing. He's not overly constrained. He is free flowing, but he's not the most calibrated. And one of the conversations was too much, too extreme. And the other conversation was too boring for the most part. The last couple minutes were solid, but it had some very dry, boring sections in it. Now, with all that said, his nonverbal communication is extremely good. Like, it's better than the vast majority of people. It's entirely on point. And that does get you a long way. That does create a lot of attraction, a lot of tension. It makes people just want to chase you, kind of gravitate towards you. It gives you a magnetism. And so when you put it all together, he's still good, right? He's still better than the vast majority of guys in terms of pickup, not just based on this, but based on other infields I've seen. It's not perfect, but I would say no one's perfect, right? I do want to put that out there. I'm critiquing, pointing out the flaws, but I can point out the flaws in my own infield too, right? No one is perfect. There's always mistakes. There's always mistakes. You can think of it kind of like basketball, where even the best players, they miss half their shots, right? They make mistakes. No one is perfect. They even have air balls, they even have embarrassing, just awkward moves that just don't work out. That happens, right? That is part of the game. So you don't want to see them through this lens of this guy's perfect and does everything. No, everyone makes mistakes. Some people are clearly better than others. But one of the important lessons I want you to take from this is that you just have to be good enough, because his interactions were good enough that if he did a lot of approaches the way he was approaching, he would have better success than the vast majority of men out there. Even though his verbal game was kind of off, despite that, he would still do very, very well. So that's kind of the lesson of this video. Now I'm going to look at some comments. Yes, because I thought it was like a religious guy. I thought it was someone who's like, because I get those comments sometimes, like, you shouldn't have sex, it's a sin. But this wasn't that. All right, so I might do a little bit of Q&A if anyone has any questions, since we finished reviewing the infield. The last thing I want to mention before I wrap up this video is I've created a completely free mastermind group where we do group coaching calls, where basically I'm going to ask you questions, find out where you're at right now in terms of dating, and give you specific steps to take things to the next level, to start getting more dates, to start getting laid more, to move towards getting a girlfriend, whatever it is that you want. And that's something that is completely free, right? This is something the vast majority of people would charge, and not only charge, but charge a lot for. But I'm offering this group for free. It has a high quality community. Basically, if people are leaving just super low quality bullshit posts, they're going to get banned, right? I'm not going to let annoying troll low quality kind of group. I'm not going to let this be an annoying low quality group with a bunch of trolls. This is for people who are taking action, who really want to level up. And the group also is going to have a 30-day challenge starting at the beginning of May. And that challenge is going to have the opportunity to win prizes. And this is also completely free. And so the top prize is going to be a $250 Amazon gift card. Second is going to be $100. Third is going to be $50. And all you have to do to join this challenge is join the group. So I'll have a link in the description below. If you're serious about getting real results in dating, real results in pickup, and you don't just want to be on the sidelines, you don't just want to be a consumer, you don't just want to be in reaction, then I highly recommend joining this group. So click the link below to do so. His body language is still and not like jerky, right? He's not like reactive, which is a common mistake a lot of guys make. His vocal tonality is deep, and also it's going to it's a down rapport. He sounds like he's in control of what he's saying. So he's not rushing. He's not intentionally talking super slow, but it's very natural and it sounds controlled. That's the best word, because you can talk fast and be controlled, like Gary Vaynerchuk or something like that, Russell Brand. So you don't necessarily have to be slow, but you don't want to sound like you don't have any control of what you're saying and that you're just in reaction, that you're nervous. Let's see. Is there anything else? I mean, he seemed to be making strong eye contact. That's obviously harder to judge, but overall his nonverbal communication was very good. It's a hard question, to be honest. If you're a low energy person and you're going to clubs, you need to learn to be high intensity. So you don't necessarily have to be like super loud and outrageous, right? But you do need to be high intensity. And James Marshall was a good example because he's not charismatic in the sense of like being, just really expressive and really out there and really loud and speaking with a lot of emotions, but he is high intensity. And that is enough. And high intensity means speaking loudly. It means being commanding, having a commanding presence, not like in an aggressive way, but in a more just masculine kind of dominant energy, just having the vibe of like you're a CEO, right, of a company and you're talking to your employees, right? You're not reactive. You're not looking for approval. So you want to work on intensity. Yep. Exposure therapy is the best therapy ever invented. It's really the heart of all good therapy. There's plenty of other things that can be helpful. But exposure therapy is like the heart of the issue for the vast majority of whatever types of anxiety you may have. So exposure therapy is something that has been scientifically shown to be highly effective. It's been around for a long time. It's been developed for a long time as the different methods. If you can get a therapist, it's always helpful in terms of pickup. If you can get a coach, they guide you through the process and help you avoid overwhelming yourself. But progress comes through exposure to things you don't want to do, to things that make you uncomfortable. That is the only way to make progress. You can't avoid that. You can get help, you can get guidance, but don't just put it off, right? Don't put it off. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just start now. Join the 30-day challenge in the mastermind group. That's what I would recommend, because that is going to put you through exposure therapy. I've designed this challenge to be, it's not like you have to do 10 approaches a day or something crazy, right? It's designed so that whatever your starting point is, you'll be able to follow through with it as long as you show a little bit of discipline, right? As long as you're willing to put a little bit of effort into it. And you will make probably more progress in that 30-day challenge, a lot of guys, than the rest of their lives combined in terms of pickup. It's going to be extremely valuable. And you might be wondering, why am I giving this away for free? The reason is partly because I want to make this community stronger. I want to add value. I want to help people get real results. But also there's a selfish reason. There is a selfish reason, which is people join the challenge and they get value from it and they get results from it. They're much more likely to follow my content in the future, right? To buy courses or buy coaching or whatever in the future because they already got value from me. So there is a selfish part to it, but even the people who don't are still going to be able to get value completely for free. All right. If I see any more good questions, I might answer. Thank you. Yeah, I think infield breakdowns have a lot of value. I am actually putting a lot of effort into building my life around getting more infield myself. This will start in the next 1 to 2 months where I'm going to be going all out on infield, right? That's going to be my channel. Is going to be the goal is the #1 infield channel. And I'm going to have a dedicated videographer. I'm already have one person who's lined up who is a likely candidate. And I'm going to be hiring video editors and I'm just going to be recording. That's going to be my job, is recording the infield, doing breakdowns of it. And then I'm going to have other people do the editing, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to be the focus of my channel because that is the highest level of value I can offer. And it's the best way to also grow the brand as well, right? To spread, because that's what's going to go viral, right? My highest viewed videos are almost always infield. Yeah, the question is the percentage of times you're hearing it. So if you're hearing it 70% of the girls you approach, that's a sign that your approaches are not very good. But a lot of women do have boyfriends. See, this is one of those, yes, girls will do that. But also, it's something like 55 to 60% of women in the age of like 18 to 30 have a boyfriend. So you don't want to take it personally if it's happening a lot. If it's half the girls, that's normal. If it's almost all the girls, something's off. It certainly may, right? I can't claim to be an expert on this question. I've had long-term relationships since having a high body count, but maybe it did affect my desire to have wandering eyes or want other women still or whatever, right? So I can't really answer. But I found that certainly doesn't stop me from having high levels of intimacy and wanting to be in a relationship, but may have an effect. But the question is, what's the alternative? Because having a low body count, if it's out of scarcity, if it's by choice, that's fine, right? Genuinely, you have options and you're just choosing not to be with a lot of women, sure. But if it's because you don't have options, that is far, far worse, right? So you just got to be aware sometimes there's cons to each. There's cons to building a business. There's cons to working at McDonald's. But like, which one has bigger cons, right? Which has a bigger sacrifice in the long term? That's such bullshit to me. This is one of the things, Julian, that I used to be a fan of his back in like 2014, 2013, maybe 2012. And he had a lot of mind-blowing ideas. He clearly had charisma. He clearly had game, right? In the sense of like being able to pull women, hot women, blah, blah, blah. He had those things, but there was also a lot of advice that was pretty manipulative, more than need be, right? It takes it farther than necessary, and it's kind of taking. There's a bit of a taking, like toxicity. I know a lot of people who were big fans of Julian. I know two guys who are like huge, mega fans of Julian that ended up in the most toxic relationships you could ever imagine, right? And I don't think that's a coincidence. So there's that negative to Julian. And then the other one is he just seems like he's sold out in a big way. He seems like, when he went into trauma healing, he started marketing against himself, right? He started saying, well, actually, the thing that I did to get over approach anxiety, social anxiety, to have success with women, and how I got laid so much and became charismatic and outgoing, etc. That's not what I'm going to teach you. In fact, that doesn't address the root problem. What you need to do is trauma healing. Trauma healing. That's what you need to do. Trauma healing, I don't have anything inherently against the idea, but it can be used as basically a coping mechanism to avoid the thing you don't want to do, right? Telling yourself, oh, by trauma healing, I'm going to not have approach anxiety and then I can avoid the approach anxiety. It doesn't work like that. There's no avoidance strategies, never work, right? It's just like relying on alcohol. Can you approach, by numbing yourself with alcohol? Sure. You might be able to do that. Is it going to lead to long-term success? No, right? In terms of pickup, absolutely not. It's going to make you worse. It's going to make your confidence reliant on drinking. And then when you're not drinking, you can't be confident. It causes far more problems than it solves. And that's true with anything where you're avoiding something stressful, like avoiding the exposure therapy through this idea of trauma healing. That's going to do more harm than it's going to do good. So I absolutely am against that. Doing both in conjunction could be fine. I've never done much trauma healing, so I'm not going to say it's a terrible idea. I'm not going to say it's a great idea on its own, but using it as an avoidance mechanism from approaching or from doing whatever it is that's difficult to you, that is missing the point. You have to be willing to go in and do things that are uncomfortable, that are stressful, that require discipline, to build willpower, to build character. And that means dealing with approach anxiety head on, exposing yourself to it, not trying to heal the trauma, and then it'll be easy. That is a pretty lame mentality. Pretty cooked. I would always use a condom unless you're in a relationship. That is not a good idea. And you may end up with a child. You may end up with other things. It's not worth the risk, right? Like, it's just horrible idea. PSA, always use a condom unless you're like, trying to be Genghis Khan or some shit. Like, Very, very bad idea for many reasons. So, yes, always use a condom unless you're in a relationship with someone you trust. Yeah, that's my point with trauma healing. All right, if I see one more good question, I might answer it, but otherwise, I'm going to wrap up. I'll post the link to the group again so you can join our 30-day challenge, be a part of the community, be part of a movement, and to be drawn towards success by being around other people who are writing their field reports, writing their success stories. I'm sharing guys, there's examples of guys who, are getting laid for the first time after a long dry spell. We're seeing that already again and again. People doing their first approach, getting their first date, getting their first number, whatever it is, there's different levels. But seeing people make progress, being surrounded by other men who are making progress, whereas most of us, 95% of us, are surrounded by men who it's like crabs in a bucket, right? Who they're dragging you down more than they're helping you. This is kind of a complicated question. It's hard to answer without more context, to be honest. Laddering your motivation, well, you don't want to be reliant on motivation in the first place. It's a word that causes a lot of problems, right? The idea that you need to feel like doing something. It's more about, like, I'm doing this live stream because it's on my schedule. Did I feel motivated to do this live stream? No. When I started, I was not in the best mood. I had way too much caffeine, to be honest. But it was on my schedule. And so I'm doing it, right? And I only planned on going for like 20 minutes. I ended up going over because the momentum. But it doesn't start with emotion. Emotion comes after you take action, right? Like with approaching, it's the same thing. You might not want to go out, but when you do go out and you do that first approach, even if you have all this resistance, once you do it, then your emotions start aligning, right? But they come after. Then your emotions make you want to approach. Then you want to do another approach. Then you want to get her number. Then you see the difficult, intimidating 5 super hot girls who are like with a bunch of guys, and you pull her from that group. But that comes through momentum and through taking those actions even when you didn't want to do so, right? That's any good experience in life. This is kind of something you have to be aware of. Comes from doing things that you don't want to do at some point first. Like that's always part of the formula. And there's no avoiding that. And if you do avoid that and you don't do the things that are difficult or uncomfortable, well, what happens? Then your life as a whole becomes difficult and uncomfortable, right? Then it gets worse and worse, even though you get immediate comfort by being lazy, by procrastinating. Then long term, your life fucking blows. Are you approaching other women? Right. The question to me is, if you're approaching a lot in general, these like specific instances, the momentum will help with that too, right? Because you're approaching in general, it'll be easier to push yourself to do those. But if you're like only, you're not approaching at all, and this is like the rationalization, then that's just kind of just shut up and do it kind of thing, right? Like it's just don't make excuses. And what bad thing could happen? Like you can use this is a little bit more on the nerdy side, but if you want a resource that's based on science, there's something called CBT Companion. I actually got it from a client of mine. So what it does is whenever you have these kind of thoughts, right, an anxiety, social anxiety, or an approach anxiety, you don't want to talk to a girl and you make an excuse, you can pull up this app and it has you go through cognitive behavioral therapy exercises where basically you disprove the bad logic in your thoughts, right? And so it might sound a little nerdy, but it is definitely helpful, and it's based on a good amount of scientific research. Okay, bro, why are you believing things you read on Reddit? Right? If you got it from Reddit from someone who has infield and has proof of results, sure, but don't just trust anyone. Just because you get a lot of upvotes on Reddit doesn't mean your post is correct. So the part that bothers me about that is like Reddit is not a high level source of information. Now, I used to post on Reddit and I think my content was good, but I read a lot of the other posters. They didn't have infield. They didn't have proof of any results. They didn't have testimonials of clients, and people are just listening to them because it sounded good. It appealed to some narrative in their mind, right? Or it's just well written, well marketed, or whatever. So if a girl thinks you're a fuckboy, it's definitely better than the opposite. Now, that will cause issues. You do need to deal with it, but it's better than all the guys who are categorized as not a sexual option at all, right? So it's a step above. It's not the highest level, but it's really not bad. But, you know, if a girl says that, how you react to it, you know, yes, you may not want to deny it, but you don't want to sound like a douchebag the way you answer either. Okay, so 3 is too low to be worrying about specific scenarios. That's what I would say. It's too low of a number to be worrying about these very specific, like younger women or in this area or whatever. You want to work on doing more approaches in general. And obviously, you should approach younger women. If you have more resistance to doing it, that's just an obstacle you're going to have to face. And it goes back to exposure therapy. You just have to push yourself into those scenarios. What is this? Some like hypnosis pattern? I don't know what I'm reading. It sounds like a hypnosis pattern or something. You know what? I love this. I think that's great. You know, that's far more likely to happen than anything negative, right? Maybe a boyfriend will occasionally come in and it'll be kind of awkward. He'll be a little tense. But it's more likely that you're going to have positive things like this happen. And I think that's super cool. Like people, more than anything, are kind of like, I could never do that. And if they dislike it, it's only out of jealousy because they know they can't do it, right? If a man's mad about you approaching, but they're such pussies, they're not going to confront you anyway the vast majority of the time. So anyone who dislikes seeing someone approach is probably a pussy. Or maybe you are being cringe and too aggressive. That's also possible. But for the most part, it's just because they're pussies. And then there's going to be cool guys who are going to, shake your hand and like give you props. And girls are going to say, I wish more guys did this. You made my day, things like that, especially as your approaches get better. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Make sure to join the free group, the free mastermind group. It has more features and more content, more value than the vast majority of other coaches' paid programs. So definitely check that out. And then if you're serious about getting this handled as fast as possible, about making as much progress in as little amount of time as possible, then make sure to click the link below to schedule a free call with me to see if you're a good fit for an in-person boot camp. I'll maybe bring up a couple examples of recent clients. These are both within the last couple days. So it's not like, I only have a couple testimonials. It's hundreds at this point total. But anyway, so here's a client from literally last weekend. I'm going to read the text, and maybe I can, if I put you can see it's real, and I'm not just making this shit up because I see why you would be skeptical. So I'm going to put my thumb over the number so you can't see it. But if you want to let me see if I can. All right, there you can screen. If you're skeptical, you can, see that is a genuine text. You can see scrolling. You can see it's a genuine text. But I got to cover the number, right? So what this guy said was he had, on the last day of the boot camp, he pulled on the second day of the boot camp. He made out with the girl. Let me cut out for a second. So when I post the actual video on YouTube, I'll just put up the text. But the basic idea is that he was someone who had gone more than 4 years without getting laid from a cold approach. Took a boot camp with me. First night, he pulled a girl, but did not take her, pulled her, but didn't hook up with her, didn't sleep with her. They made out, but didn't end up sleeping with her. Still, that's on its own, that would be really good for a boot camp for someone who hasn't pulled from cold approach in 4 years. But then the next day he got 6 to 8 numbers, somewhere in that range, and then got one of those girls on a date and ended up staying the night with her and sleeping with her. So he got laid for the first time from cold approach in 4 years. I'll ask him to do a video testimonial So I'll have that out soon. But that's what happened client last weekend. The one before that pulled twice. There was one client who pulled twice, and I don't know the exact dry spell, but I know it was at least a year since they had pulled in person. And then I also had another client. This was from 2 months ago, but I'll show this in the video too. But he finally got in his life his first lay from an approach after trying for, it was over 30 years, right? And so those are the kinds of things that happen when you take a boot camp, right? It's really, really drastic, the kinds of results that people get. So if you're serious about making progress the fastest possible, if you're serious about making a transformation and making sure that you don't just dabble, that you have real skin in the game, that you have real leverage, and that you take more, and you will take more action in the course of one weekend than 95% of you have taken in the previous year. That's the average bootcamp experience. So make sure to click that link to learn more about it. All right. So with that said, I'm going to definitely be doing another one of these tomorrow. I'm going to try to keep these to a tighter schedule, do it at the same time every day. But right now I'm just working on being more consistent, putting out more content. And then I'm going to be posting a shit ton of infield. And that's when the channel's really going to blow up and take over. And, plan is within a year, get to #1 in the niche, right? Of at least of actual pickup coaches, not necessarily of all of dating, but of actual pickup coaches through infield. Bro, tell your friends to shut the fuck up, find new friends. What losers. I'm turning 33, so you're not actually older than me. Maybe I look young or something, but I am turning 33 in like May 1st, so in about a week. And I've had zero issues with anyone telling me I'm too old. And, I've hooked up with 21-year-old women in the last year. I don't necessarily usually prefer them to be so young, but my point is it doesn't really matter. So yeah, your friends that's crabs in a bucket. That's why you need to join. Good timing for the fly to come in, but that's why you need to join the mastermind group so that you have a counter force to the crabs in a bucket, to these people dragging you down, telling you you're too old. Shut the fuck up. Do they have game? Answer that, right? Do they have really good game? Do they crush it? Do they pull a lot of hot girls or have like amazing 10 out of 10 girlfriends? And if they don't fucking listen to them, Don't listen to them. If someone has no results themselves, it's like, are you going to ask your like morbidly obese friend? He says, well, actually, you shouldn't count your calories because just it should be like Peanuts. Maybe I'm dating myself as old. But Peanuts, the old cartoon where they go, whenever parents talk, it's wah, 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 or whatever. Can't understand it. It's total bullshit. That's what you should be like when you're getting advice from people who don't have the results that they're trying to talk to you about in that area, right? I like Coach Kyle. I don't know about his coaching, his program. I can't tell you how good it is or not, but his game is good. His girlfriend, that I don't know if he's still with her, but he had a, very hot girlfriend, right? So that certainly adds credence to his expertise, and I have nothing bad to say. The only potential con is he's so popular, right? He has so many views, so many subscribers that his pricing might be very, very high, because to get his personal attention, well, it's going to be very valuable because he has so many views, which means he's probably going to charge a lot for it, right? I mean, it's just natural that he would do that. I would too. Anyway, good talking to you guys. Make sure to join the group. Hope you enjoyed this infield breakdown. Let me know in the comments if there's any particular videos you want me to react to next, if there's any infield you want me to react to, or just anything that's relevant to pickup. And I read the comments, and if I see something cool, I will react to it. So see you guys tomorrow.